Quail log, April 28th, 2023. So tonight I actually have had a quiet evening. After supper I was able to come down and practice on my chanter, and now I've been able to sit and actually watch the baby quail, most of them are now starting to get quite a bit of feathers and actually growing up quite a bit, because I'm just amazed at how big they are at this point. The interesting part is seeing how much their heads still look like small little quail versus their bodies. But I even know that the older ones, I've always it surprised me how their heads don't really match their bodies as well. But definitely these younger ones, as the feathers are coming in, and the heads just kind of look out of place because they haven't got their feathers there quite the same as they would do everywhere else. So I was definitely surprised by that tonight, but at the same time, this is my first batch of watching the babies grow. Usually I've got them at somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks, so with the rest of my birds. So I've not got to see them this young before all their feathers have come in and when you can easily sex these guys. Whoop. So tonight I've seen a few more of that where they're jumping around and moving a lot more. So I've definitely had to watch when I've had the doors open. What got me down here while I was working on practicing my chanter was that I got an alert that it was at least 95 degrees inside of here. So I came down and at least opened up the doors for a little bit to give them, let some of the heat out and let it cool down a little bit for them, because I know that at their age now they don't need as much heat. They still, I don't want it to be getting down into the 60s. Is maybe getting down to 75 is the most I'd ever want it to get down to at their age. But right now I think about 80 is the lowest I'm going to let it go, at least for another week. So it's definitely been interesting getting to sit here and watch them, because a few of them, their heads are starting to look more like the adults, and you can see some of the stripes in it. So far I've only got a couple that I would say that are starting to show chin straps, though at this point it's so hard to tell because as I said, their faces just don't look like they've grown out their feathers yet. So it should be interesting to see where they're at in another week or two, because I figure once they're about 3 to 4 weeks old, that's when I'll start being able to tell a little better of who's, just by looking at their face, get a better idea of who's going to be males and who's going to be females. But they've still got at least a few more weeks before I'd have to worry about separating them. So some of it will be enjoying watching them grow and seeing what if I can actually pick out the males and females from chin straps and some of that, because now that I have the two males, I have at least a little better idea of what to look for. But I figure with this group, I'm going to finally get a better chance to really understand the difference between some of the males and females, and probably have to check myself and verify with vent checking or some of that as I get further along. But I've just been enjoying watching them and watching them grow, and it's definitely an interesting sight to see them go from that little bitty, like the size of an egg, less than 2 weeks ago, or I guess it would be 2 weeks ago tonight at 9 o'clock was when the first egg hatched. So I'm less than an hour away from when they're 2 weeks old, and they are definitely grown in size, because when they were in here, they couldn't really even reach up into where the feeders were, and now they easily can sit and eat out of the feeders, and most of them probably can't even fit into the feeders now. Still a couple of them that can, but the majority of them can't. So it's definitely interesting to see how much they've grown and how much they've changed in just 2 weeks. So let's see if I can get some other angles on everyone. Come over here. Close this door, since I have a few more that are getting definitely more interested in trying to figure out what's outside of their cage and what's going on. Let's see, can I lean in and show a little better? Somewhat. As you can see, I've got somebody here that's sitting in the food tray eating, but the majority of them are just leaning in and eating like this one here is. So I figure by the end of next week, no one will be able to crawl in the trays, and it'll definitely make it easier so I'm not having to clean the trays every single day and trying to keep them clean. They've definitely been better the last couple of days, so that's a good start. So let's see how everyone's doing over here. Let's start down here and we'll see how my favorite boy is doing. He was crowing at me when I was first coming down here. Probably not going to crow at me now. We'll see. He usually does crow at me at least quite a bit since he's now by himself. He did that quite a bit the first few times I separated him. My speckles are looking quite nice tonight. They have given me 3 eggs yet again, so they are very reliable. We'll see when that they start slowing down. My Pharaoh girls are looking nice. Hopefully all their feathers will start growing in soon. We got a couple of them back here. Now, as for these guys, I've got 1 egg right there, and I've got 1 egg right here. But it is still a little early. It's not even 8 o'clock yet, and I get most of my eggs from at least the Pharaohs, between, or half the time I see them roll out between 8 and 9 o'clock. So we'll see how many more eggs I get tonight. I'll easily keep track of that and see where they go. Because at least for right now, I got 2 from the Pharaohs and 3 from my speckled girls, so that works. I've still got about 16 dozen eggs up at the house that to go through, so I've got plenty of extras. So as they're going through the molt and not doing as many eggs, it doesn't bother me too much. So that's probably it for tonight. I just wanted to comment on how the babies are growing, and the idea that most of them have feathered out, but their heads haven't finished yet. Because I guess that I didn't realize they did that until I was sitting there and watching them tonight. So they still prefer to be on the mat, so I'm going to leave at least 1 mat in there. I keep cleaning it, or taking 1 out, making sure I shake it off so there's nothing really stuck to it each night, because they do leave it rather fouled. But tomorrow or afternoon or Sunday, I will go through and clean out all the trays and give the older birds sand. So we'll see how they do from there. But that's what I've wanted to record for tonight. Good night.